Welcome to Second Listen Saturday on the Parenting Roundabout podcast, where we share some fun moments from a past episode for your weekend listening pleasure. Look for new episodes every Monday through Friday. Today, we're focusing on something that's not really on your radar when you're a parent of tiny kids, and that is teaching your children how to make their own phone calls. I feel like phone calls are an old-fashioned thing, and that children should not have to make these anymore. We should just be able to text everything. But still, there come times when they need to call about something or other. And I just find it excruciating. My kids are in their 20s, and I still, cover my ears and sing, la la la, I can't hear you, when one of them is on the phone somewhere in the house making an official phone call that I have forced them to do. It's just so stressful. You know, it's another one of those things that you turn over to your children, the task of doing certain things, and you're real good at it, and they're real not. Do you guys have this situation? Are you in a situation where your kids have to make phone calls? Like, for example, you know, my son was working a job, and then things were real slow over the holidays, so they laid him off just for the holidays, and they said, you know, we'll call you back, and then they haven't called him back, so I've had him calling every week asking, you know, if he's on the schedule, and the receptionist who he talks to is always very nice, happy to hear him, and it works, you know, it goes just great. But it's like, I'm like, can I just go in the other room while you do this, honey? You know, it's just so hard because I'm constantly thinking about what you should say and rewording and whispering things. And, you know, it's hard for me to let go of that, I guess. I want them to do it. I just don't want to have to be in the room. And yet I have to be in the room. So...
Yeah, it's hard. Well, Nicole, didn't you say now that since your daughter turned 18, you've been having to, you can't do certain things.
Right.
No. And she doesn't tend to make a lot of phone calls. I think the types of phone calls she makes is just to make like restaurant reservations for her and her friends. But I know that she's in her role as an editor with the school yearbook. She's had to learn how to make professional phone calls over the years.
That's good.
To look for advertising and to set up, you know, photo opportunities and and she's learned how to do that through that position. But where I help my kids a lot with. Both of them is writing the professional email.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's where they seem to need the most support.
Right.
Not necessarily the phone call.
I do help with that too, but that's something where you can just do it behind the scenes and nobody knows.
Right.
The phone calls, it gets a little more difficult. And it's like, there's so many permutations of phone calls that adults have to make. Like recently, I've been working with my daughter to deal with her health care by herself. And we recently found her a doctor that she could go to. It's not my doctor, her own doctor. And she's doing really well. This place has a website. You can make the appointments online. You can pay online. You do everything online. It works really well. But the other day she saw online that she maybe owed some money from one of her visits, so she just paid for it. And I said, no, honey, you have to wait until you get the explanation of the benefit from the insurance and the bill from the doctor, and then you compare those. And if those are not right, you call the doctor, and maybe the doctor takes care of it, or maybe they say, no, you have to call the insurance company. Then you call the insurance company. And the whole time I'm saying this to her, I'm thinking, how on earth am I going to coach her through all these phone calls?
Yeah.
Because I hate making them, but I've made them so much that you just kind of know what to do.
Yeah.
But she should do it. But I'm going to have to be there with cue cards. I don't know. Maybe you can do it all. We need to get to the point where you can just do this all online through messaging. But there are still things.
Yeah, and it's so hard because you can't predict what they're going to say. And you can't, you know, she might need to ask for a manager or something like that. And it gets, it's really super hard. And it's hard for all of us, or I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't like doing those kind of things.
I don't.
For sure.
And then you try the thing where you're listening on the other phone and like whispering what they should say, and then they say it slightly wrong. No.
That's not what I meant.
Sometimes I finally just break and go, this is his mother. And then I feel bad afterwards.
sorry I had to break in here.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, we had this one thing where my son had to call to try to get onto the website for his company. And it was important that he do it, but you could only the person who was the employee could call. They wouldn't talk to anybody else. And it's like, well, so my husband and I are both sitting there, like coaching through this call, listening to it, trying to figure out what to say. And there's been a couple of things like that. There's been things for getting tax forms, and I feel like it's important that they do it. How did we learn how to do it? I don't know. Did this sort of thing ever get taught in school, or? I feel like it's a skill that kids maybe don't get that much anymore because there's, we were on the phone all the time with our friends as we were growing up. We would be talking to people all the time. I don't know if kids do that anymore. Do your daughters talk on the phone with their friends?
No.
Yeah.
If they do, it's FaceTime for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But yeah, not really. And, of course, yes, we were on the phone, but those were all personal calls.
That's true.
We weren't doing these business types of calls.
That's true. But maybe there's a certain comfort level you have with the device, whereas now if kids have to make a phone call, it's for something important or boring.
Yes.
And for us, it was just, one of the many different things we would use that for. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, my kids have their issues as well, so it makes it a little difficult with speech. So their speech therapist should have taught them to do this, darn it.
Yeah.
So many years of speech therapy. They should have practiced phone calls.
Ways, I have envy for our kids, too, though, because so much is done through messaging and texts and emails. And, they even do, job applications and communicate with their employer or potential employer. And I mean, those were just such awkward conversations to have.
Yes.
Yeah. Although my son did get a dose of it last week. He had to do some cold calling to find a doctor that he could shadow for his medical school application. And so he needed to find, somebody who would let him shadow them for a day or so. So he had to cold call 30 different places, and he was just so stressed about it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, welcome to my world. That's all we did when we were younger.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I really love the online chat. If I can find something that has an online chat, because then you can pretend to be whoever it is.
Yeah.
I do that for my husband. We had some insurance thing at some point, and they would only talk to him. But if we did the online chat, I just said I was him. And it went really well, because he doesn't like to make phone calls either. But that was fun. And then I could just type it while I was doing other things. But the phone is... I'm getting stressed out by phone calls, too, now, I guess, because we make so much fewer.
Yeah.
I always want to be able to do things online.
Yes.
And I had a thing recently where a friend and I wanted to schedule something and make a reservation, and she is hearing impaired, so she can't do things on the phone.
Oh.
And she's like, they don't have a way to do it online. I wish they did. And I said, yeah, I wish they did too, because I would rather do it online. But I had to make the phone call. I just made the call for both of us.
Yeah.
But that's another whole thing.
Yeah.
She can't hear them on the phone.
Yeah, as much as we complain about, everything being online and everything being digital and text messages and all that stuff, I've come to just really like that. It's like, we can just actually not have to speak to other human beings. That'd be awesome. But not every place has it.
No,
I always think a little less of places that don't make it easy.
I know. It's like, get with the program.
Come on. Or, when you go on the online chat, and this happened to me a couple of times. I was having some problem with Best Buy, and they had a great online chat. The person was very, very helpful, but our conversations always ended with, well, you really need to call our 800 number. And the 800 number was a disaster. They had horrible tinny music and long waits, and then the call quality wasn't good. And it's like, can't I just talk to somebody online?
Right.
This isn't fair.
And then when you're on hold, they're usually telling you should go to our website for faster.
Yes. Or when you realize after a couple minutes it's just a robot who's giving you.
Or you get one of those endless systems of punching certain things and it never gets to the option you want, or you finally hit the option you want and then it cuts you off. I had a phone call like that. I think I got transferred 4 times and then cut off. It's like, can't we just phones are elderly technology. Let's move into this century.
Right.
And then I don't have to teach my kids how to talk on the phone. I'll just type for them. Nobody needs to know.